Hey, what's up, guys? Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling, and today we are looking at the matches of the month for February 2025. In this series, essentially what we do is we look at all of the matches from four major companies: WWE, AEW, New Japan, and TNA. I go through the catalog of matches, including TV and pay per view from that month, and pick what I feel is the best, most must see match of each company for that month. Now, this month we are focusing a lot on TV. There hasn't been a ton of big pay-per-views. AEW hasn't had a pay-per-view yet. New Japan is sort of in this middle ground where we're past Wrestle Kingdom, moving towards New Japan Cup and eventually Dominion, but not a ton going on right now. TNA, no big pay-per-views, and though WWE had the Royal Rumble at the beginning of the month, nothing really since then. So we're going to be talking a lot about these companies' TV programs this month. If you guys like the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment, as it really does help a new channel like mine to grow. But with all of that being said, let's go ahead and start out with our AEW match of the month. For our AEW selection, we are going back to the beginning of the month on an episode of Collision from February 8th, where in the main event, Kyle Fletcher took on Mark Briscoe. This was a phenomenal match, and Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe have fought at least one other time before. I remember them fighting in the Continental Classic last year, and they had a great match then too, because it's just such the perfect combination of two wrestlers. They're both really hard hitters. They like to lay it in when they're wrestling other people, or if they don't actually lay it in for real, they like to make it look like they do. It seems like the focus of these two guys when they're in the ring is to make their offense look as impactful as humanly possible. So when you put them together, it's just a recipe for success. It was such a physical, violent match throughout with some really stiff, hard offense. And what makes this match, in my opinion, the best AEW match of the month is not only did it have great wrestling, it had two characters who the audience is invested in and wants to see on their television screens comprising the match as well. Kyle Fletcher, one of the biggest heels in the company, one of the most popular heels in the company, especially since some of the top heels like Jon Moxley and the Death Riders or Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree, the fans just really aren't connecting with. Seeing Kyle Fletcher at the top as a heel who you can just genuinely hate, but also love watching in the ring, he just fits this missing mold so well in the main event scene. So every time you get to see him, the fans really come alive for him. And Mark Briscoe, just the eternally loved babyface, the sweetest man you could ever hope to meet in your life, who also loves breaking people's necks and slapping people harder than they've ever been slapped in their lives. So this match really was a combination of a lot of great stuff for me. It was hard hitting offense. It was characters that you love. It was just a perfect TV match. It wasn't a perfect match. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. But really, watching an episode of Collision, you can't ask for a lot better than this. And it was the best match AEW has produced in the month of February. Next, we are jumping over to New Japan and specifically the New Beginning in Osaka, where we got what I have to imagine will be a contender for match of the year when we get into December. That being the main event, Hiroki Goto beating Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. This match was incredible for a couple reasons. Obviously, it was Goto's crowning moment, and I really am a Hiroki Goto guy. I haven't been watching him for like since he's debuted in whatever 2003, or he won the G1 Climax in 2008. Like, I haven't been with him on that journey, and I've only been watching New Japan for a couple years, really watching it religiously for about a year. But Hiroki Goto has really cemented himself as being one of my favorite wrestlers in the company. He's just so personable. It's so easy to make a connection with him because you can tell he's an older veteran but still has the ability to go with the younger guys, and that mold for a wrestler, the person who is getting close to be putting out to pasture but is having this one last run, is such an easy way for fans to connect with him. And Goto does such a great job about pulling fans in behind him, that seeing him finally crowned the top champion of New Japan after so many years, it was a great moment. And if you've been a fan of New Japan for longer than I have, this moment will hit harder for you. But just in the limited time I've been watching, I was so happy for him. I was so enthralled by the moment that I feel anyone watching this match can really get swept up in the action. And that's not to mention, it is just a phenomenal match in and of itself. It's about 20 minutes. It doesn't go too long. It just gets in there, does hard-hitting action right from the beginning. Goto really laying it into Zack Sabre Jr. with Zack pulling it back a little bit, slowing down to do a little bit more of a technical pace as he is known to do. They just crafted something really special here. And moment aside, this still would be a great match. This still would be the match of the month that we were talking about, even if Goto didn't win the championship. But him winning, the fans coming alive for it, the frenzy in the audience afterwards, knowing that you're watching something historic, it's just the icing on top of the cake. This was a 5-star match. I don't know if it was quite as good as Kenny versus Gabe at the beginning of the year, but this is one of the best things New Japan has produced in a long time. And out of the 4 matches we're talking about on this list, this is my biggest recommendation. Go out of your way to watch this match. It's absolutely fantastic. Next, we are jumping over to TNA. Pretty slim pickings for match of the month for TNA in February. I went with Fraxium versus Nick and Ryan Nemeth from Impact TV on the 6th of February. Not because it was a particularly great match, just because it was the best that TNA had this month. Whenever the TNA is just running shows, whenever they're running episodes of Impact or that other show they have that I can't remember the name of, you just don't ever really get great matches. It's sort of just a lot of stuff happening with names that you might be familiar with if you're a fan of TNA, but nothing really great comes out of it. You'll only get a truly great TV match once every 3 to 6 months. And this month we just didn't really have one. And since we didn't have a pay-per-view this month, there was really nothing for us to rely on. So we're looking at Fraxium versus the Nemeths, which was a good match. It was a very good match. You have Fraxium in there. You have Nick Nemeth, who can more than hold his own. Ryan Nemeth, who is good. He didn't do anything particularly incredible in this match, but he definitely held up his own end. But yeah, this was just a good match. This is like any tag match you would see Fraxium have on NXT, any tag match you would watch on AEW. Like, if I was just doing this list, not company based, and I was just doing the best matches of the month, this match would be like 20th or 30th, maybe. So it's the match of the month pretty much because there's no other real competition. I honestly wouldn't recommend going out of your way to see it unless you're a huge fan of TNA or you're a huge fan of Fraxium who wants to see what they're doing over in TNA. But outside that, not a huge recommendation from me. And we're finishing up with WWE. And on the first day of February, I was so sure I knew what my match of the month was going to be. It was going to be Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble in that ladder match. I thought nothing else could come along in the month of February to possibly beat this, especially considering that they don't have any pay-per-views this month. The first pay-per-view is in March, Elimination Chamber at the beginning of March. So they just have TV up until then. And WWE, though it puts on a damn fine TV show most weeks, isn't really known for having great TV matches. So I was expecting Cody versus Kevin to be the match of the month. And it's not. There was actually a match on Raw that I preferred to Cody versus Kevin. Raw from February 17th. It was the main event, an Elimination Chamber qualifying match, Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Now, some people would probably call me crazy for saying this is a better match than Cody versus Kevin. Cody versus Kevin had the title. It was on a pay-per-view. It was on a big stage. It was a ladder match. It had some of the most insane spots you'll ever see in a ladder match. There was so much going for it that this match didn't have. The Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor was just a main event for Raw where the outcome was never in question, and it's two guys who you see wrestle all the time in good but not great matches. But I'll say this is the only great match I've ever seen these two have. And I do think it was a great match because I was able to feel so much more emotion in this match than I was Cody versus Kevin. I'm not a huge ladder match guy regardless. I don't like the format of ladder matches. I feel like it's tired and overworked. I much prefer a regular singles match. But what I think Seth and Finn did better was that they had a greater ability to disguise the outcome of the match. I knew going into this match that Seth was going to win and go on to Elimination Chamber. But this match was so effective at building tension and sucking me in that I legitimately thought Finn was going to take the win and go to Chamber a few times. Like there was 2 or 3 instances in this match where I went, "Oh my god, Finn Balor's winning." And it got me excited. It made my heart rise into my stomach or into my throat. It was a feeling in wrestling that I don't get too frequently, where I'm genuinely sitting on the edge of my seat anticipating a result. And the reason I got there was because of the great action that was present in this match. And it was great action. I can't say it was, particularly like hard hitting or stuff that you haven't seen from Seth Rollins or Finn Balor before, but I thought it was just sequenced so well. Both guys were there to really put on a great match. They brought this like energy and this physicality to it, where you really seemed like they hated each other. They were hitting each other a little bit harder than they normally would. They were going to the outside, doing some sequences with the steps, with the barricades that you wouldn't see them normally do. It just was able to capture this energy right at the beginning and hold it all the way through. And as a result, created a narrative that I was engrossed in and I felt was compelling. I loved this match. And prior to watching Elimination Chamber, I thought this was the best WWE match of the year that far. I think that up to that point of that Raw, that was the best WWE match of the year. So that is a heavy recommendation from me. I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a friggin' phenomenal match. And I probably won't be talking about it at the end of the year as one of my favorite matches of the year, but it's just one of those little flashes in the pan on Raw that we've gotten with Sammy versus Punk or Punk versus Rollins or Damian versus Finn, where you just get these matches popped up and you go, "Oh, this will be a good match." And then it turns out to be a great match. And it's just such a treat sometimes when you get this lackluster action throughout all of Raw with a banger main event on the end. It's sort of wraps off the episode nicely in a way that makes you feel fulfilled as a wrestling fan for having invested your time and watching the episode. And this match, Seth versus Finn, did that more than any other match I've seen in WWE this year. So I think it is the best match of February 2025. And I want to know your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below. Should Kevin and Cody have gone above Finn and Seth? Was there anything in AEW that should have replaced Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe? Was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hiroki Goto a 5-star match, like I said? And was I being too harsh on TNA? Was there a match that I should have given a little bit more love to? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, as it really does help a new channel like mine to grow. Thank you guys very much for watching the video. I appreciate it. As always, I have been Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling, and I will see you next time.